It is the latest model in the Stag Beetle series, sporting a shimmering carapace and a thirst for battle unlike any other in his family to date. It is KWG16 Luminous Titan. With a nearly completely brand new kit of Fight Spike, Ranged Sword, Ranged Pile, Biped Legs, and a leg ability of Long Range, which buffs success when fighting at close range and buffs power when fighting at long range. Now, much like it was with Kaiser Arc last week being the fusion of two very iconic beetle types, Luminous Titan also is just as equally of a fusion between Luminous Stag from Medarot Navi and Titan Beetle, the counterpart to Arc Beetle as well. This model features a thirst for battle and yet another wonderful design by the legendary Fujioka Kenki as well, that is quite unlike that of Kaiser Arc, having kind of an emphasis on forward-facing. Luminous Titan, on the other hand, fights anywhere just as efficiently with no drop in performance and without so much as skipping a beat. Fight Spike on the head part is a brand new support skill being added to the game, and upon activation it adds a 50% melee damage and piercing bonus when activated for the user's next melee skill. Additionally, it also does apply a stack basically of radar sight to self, where it will negate any enemy's stealth or conceal effects on the opposing side of the field. That means that whoever Luminous Titan is planning to target next, no matter what they do, aside from of course trying to block him with the shield, he is going to hit exactly who he wants without anyone so much as trying to impede him while he's on the field. Ranged Sword on the right arm is another brand new skill being introduced into the game, and its use is basically kind of the reverse of Ranged Pile, which we saw with the introduction of Duke Knight with the Digimon collaboration. But to explain Ranged Sword briefly, it does offer a damage plus and a piercing bonus when fighting at close range, but on top of that, it also applies a 30% piercing bonus when attacking that target at close range. Additionally, when you fight the opponent at long range instead, you'll be getting a success bonus and an AoE attack instead of piercing instead. So this makes it an incredibly user-friendly skill that means you'll be getting at least one perk no matter where the opponent's located on the field. When they're in your face, more power and piercing. When they're farther away from you, you have a much higher likelihood of landing the hit, and you hit all parts instead. Ranged Pile on the left arm that we've already seen before with Duke Knight is more or less just the reverse of that. But to explain it briefly, upon attacking a target at close range, you get damage plus and an AoE instead. But at the farther the target away, you get success plus and piercing instead. So essentially, if you want to fight someone at close range, you can have two completely different methods of being able to do so. And no matter which one you pick, you're going to be getting a piercing bonus or an AoE bonus, or a damage plus or a success bonus, no matter which one you choose and no matter where the enemy is located on the field. So you have two very incredibly solid options that you generally can't go wrong with anywhere. Plus, with base power between both arms between low 600s and mid 1700s, they're both incredibly powerful skills that you really can't go wrong with using. Biped Legs means that Luminous Titan will have relatively solid coverage across most terrains and a very diverse terrain compatibility as well. But also compared to Kaiser Arc, the stats are actually kind of balanced, so not really anything boss type or completely broken, and still with his weaknesses as well. But that is more or less the only thing that does kind of bring him back down just a little bit. With a base speed of 888, he's already off to a fairly solid start in the speed department, and an evade of 1557 is kind of par for the course when it comes to Stag Beetle types, focusing more on speed and evade more than being all-rounded or focusing on balance or damage reduction. On the topic of damage reduction, he's sporting an impressive melee resist of 1652, which means Luminous Titan can absolutely hold his own up close and personal when it comes to fighting at close range. But with a shoot resist of 922, it's not terrible per se. He can still hold his own fairly well, but it is also worth noting that while he's on the field, anyone that is trying to fight him at long range may or may not see a little bit better of a overall performance at trying to cut this giant stag beetle down to size. In the armor department, Luminous Titan is also quite bulky as well, with a head armor of just shy of 3,900, arms at 4,079 each, and legs at nearly 4,500. Not only is his damage reduction fairly decent and solid as far as stag beetle types are concerned, he also is packing some pretty impressive bulk to guarantee that he stays in the field as long as possible. It is also worth noting, like I said, with his impressive power, meaning that no matter if he's getting the success or damage bonus or the piercing or AoE, it's going to be a very painful blow no matter which way you look at it. The only real weaknesses I see here are the fact that he does have average heat and cool stats in the mid to high 600s, which isn't terrible, don't get me wrong, but with the success of 1214 for the right arm and a left arm of 916, he is going to be just a little bit blind on that leftward swing, so he is going to be relying just a little bit more on that success bonus compared to his right arm with ranged sword. But again, that really isn't anything you can focus on too heavily. All this being said though, as a pure set score, I gotta say, it was very, very difficult to not rate Luminous Titan a 10 out of 10 and must-have, because he covers a lot of his own weaknesses exceptionally well. Between ranged sword and ranged pile alone, not even touching on anything else, he has incredible coverage between both of his arms, sporting a damage plus or a success plus and an AoE or a piercing conversion, basically at will and also relative to how far away the target is. So Luminous Titan has a fantastic array of coverage just at its disposal alone. And if you need to fight a little harder, you got Fight Spike, which adds just a little bit more of a damage plus and a piercing on top of that where applicable. Then you also have long range to tie into that. So let's say, for instance, if you choose to use Ranged Sword, which gives you the damage plus and the piercing at close range. Well, guess what? You also get a success bonus when fighting at close range as well, thanks to long range, and you get the inverse when fighting with an opponent at long range as well. So like I said, an incredibly synergetic model with fantastic numbers. I really have to say the only real weakness he has is the fact that he is double heavy, which means that he is susceptible to anyone that is using heavy punish. Break, break rush, press, break hammer, or anything similar will probably cut him down to size faster than intended. But otherwise, he's still an incredibly versatile and very user-friendly model, in contrast to Kaiser Arc, which does require a little bit of finesse when using him. As mixed parts, though, I do have to rate him very equally for these same reasons at a 9 out of 10. While he fights incredibly synergetically well up close and personal as a pure set, you can also use his parts basically anywhere for just as equally consistent performance. Whether you use ranged sword, ranged pile, or his legs basically anywhere, that's a free bonus and at least at minimum one free perk you get on top of whatever you're planning to do for your attack with that round. And for your dominant melee fighters, you also have Fight Spike at your disposal for your extra oomph when wanting to get up close and personal.